Warning: if you are over 60 and you do this one thing every single morning, you are slowly destroying the very muscles that keep you standing, walking, and living independently. And the worst part, you probably think you are being healthy. Dorothy, 72 years old, a retired librarian from Portland, sat in my office with tears streaming down her face. She grabbed my hand and said, "Dr. Harrison, I do not understand. I have been doing the same thing every morning for 40 years. I thought I was taking care of myself, but now I can barely get up from a chair without help." What Dorothy was doing every morning is something millions of people over 60 do right now, and a Japanese physician who has spent 30 years studying muscle loss in aging adults is now warning the world about this devastating habit. What he discovered will change everything you thought you knew about your morning routine. But here is what matters most. In just 21 days, you can completely reverse the damage and rebuild the strength you have been losing for years. Let me tell you exactly what happened with Dorothy and 7 other patients who changed their lives once they understood this simple truth. Before I go any further, I need to be clear about something. While I spent 40 years treating patients in hospitals and clinics, this video is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for personalized medical advice from your own doctor who knows your specific health history. Always consult with your healthcare provider before making changes to your diet or health routine. That said, what I am about to share with you could genuinely change your life. Dorothy had been a librarian for 38 years in downtown Portland. She was known for carrying heavy boxes of books up 3 flights of stairs without breaking a sweat. She raised 2 children, helped care for 4 grandchildren, and never missed her morning walks around the neighborhood. Her husband George used to joke that she would outlive them all. But over the past 5 years, something changed. It started slowly, like water dripping on a stone. First, she noticed her legs felt heavier in the afternoons. Then she started avoiding the stairs at the grocery store. By the time she came to see me, Dorothy could not stand up from her kitchen chair without pushing herself up with both arms, and she had no idea why. "I do everything right," she told me, her voice cracking with frustration. "I wake up early. I have my routine. I am not lazy. So why is my body failing me?" When Dorothy told me about her morning routine, I understood immediately what was happening, and it broke my heart because she had no idea that the one thing she thought was helping her was actually stealing her strength day by day. This is not just Dorothy's story. I have seen this same pattern destroy the independence of hundreds of patients over the past 20 years, and it always starts the same way. People believe they are doing the right thing because no one ever told them the truth about how muscles work after 60. Think of your muscles like a bank account. When you are young, deposits happen automatically. Your body builds muscle while you sleep, while you eat, while you go about your day. The account grows without much effort. But after 60, the rules change completely. Now your body starts making withdrawals every single hour. The interest rate reverses, and if you do not make active deposits, the account drains faster than you can imagine. Robert, 68, a former factory supervisor from Cleveland, experienced this firsthand. He came to me after falling in the bathroom for the 3rd time in 2 months. His wife Margaret had to help him off the floor each time. He told me with shame in his eyes, "Doctor, I used to lift 50-pound boxes all day long. Now I cannot even catch myself when I stumble. What happened to me?" What happened to Robert is the same thing happening to Dorothy and to millions of others. They were all making the same morning mistake without knowing it. The Japanese physician I mentioned, Dr. Yoshida, spent 3 decades at a research hospital in Osaka, studying why some elderly patients maintained their strength while others withered away. He noticed something peculiar. Patients who came from rural farming villages seemed to age differently than those from modern cities. Their muscles stayed fuller, their grip stayed stronger, their independence lasted longer. At first he thought it was genetics, then he thought it was diet, then he thought it was exercise. But when he dug deeper, he found something none of those theories could explain. The city patients were actually exercising more. They walked more steps. They joined more fitness classes. On paper they should have been stronger, but they were not. The difference Dr. Yoshida finally discovered came down to one morning habit that the city patients followed religiously, but the village patients never did. Let me tell you about Patricia before I reveal what that habit is. Patricia, 74, a retired church secretary from Nashville, was the picture of discipline. She woke up at 6 every morning. She had her routine down to the minute. She considered herself one of the healthiest people in her congregation. But when her grandson visited last Christmas, he noticed something that shocked him. "Grandma," he said, "why are you walking like that? You are shuffling." Patricia had not even realized it. Her steps had gotten shorter, her posture had curved forward, she was walking like someone 20 years older, and it all traced back to what she did every single morning for the past 15 years. Here is what Patricia did. Here is what Dorothy did. Here is what Robert did. Here is what millions of people over 60 do right now, thinking they are being healthy. They skip breakfast, or they have only coffee, or they have just a piece of toast. They believe eating less in the morning helps them control their weight. They think they are not hungry anyway. They feel lighter and more energetic when they do not eat a big morning meal. And every single day, this habit chips away at their muscles like rust eating through iron. You see, your muscles after 60 are like a furnace that needs fuel every single morning without exception. When you sleep, your body goes into a fasting state. By the time you wake up, your muscles have been without fuel for 8 hours or more. They are starving. They are crying out for raw materials to rebuild and repair. And here is what most people do not understand. When your muscles cannot find fuel from food, they start eating themselves. Your body breaks down your own muscle tissue to get the energy it needs. This is not a slow process. It happens every single morning you wake up and do not feed your muscles properly within the first hour. Think about it like a campfire. When the fire runs out of wood, it starts burning the logs you meant to save for later. If you keep letting the fire burn through your reserves without adding new wood, eventually there is nothing left but ashes. That is exactly what happens to your muscles when you skip breakfast or eat too little in the morning. Dr. Yoshida found that his village patients, the farmers and laborers, never skipped breakfast. They could not afford to. They needed energy to work in the fields. They ate substantial morning meals with plenty of what he called muscle-building materials. Not just any food. The specific type that muscles need to stop breaking down and start building up. William, 66, a retired postal worker from Minneapolis, learned this lesson the hard way. He had been doing intermittent fasting for 3 years because he read it was good for longevity. He would not eat until noon every day. He lost weight, which his doctor praised, but he also lost something he did not measure on the scale. He told me, shaking his head in disbelief, I thought I was adding years to my life, but I was actually taking away my ability to live those years well. My legs got so weak I had to stop golfing with my buddies. Do you know how much I loved golfing? That was my whole social life. What William lost was not fat. It was the precious muscle tissue that kept him active and independent. And every morning he skipped breakfast, he accelerated that loss. Let me tell you about another patient who taught me something important about this problem. Edward, 73, was a retired accountant from Chicago. He was meticulous about everything in his life. He tracked his expenses down to the penny. He organized his sock drawer by color. And he was absolutely certain that his morning routine of black coffee and a single slice of dry toast was the healthiest choice he could make. Edward came to see me because his wife had died 2 years earlier, and he was worried about living alone. Not emotionally worried, though that was there too. Physically worried. He told me, Dr. Harrison, I dropped a pan last week and I could not pick it up off the floor. I had to use a grabber tool to get it. What happens when I fall, and there is no grabber tool to pick me up? That question haunted me, because Edward was right to be afraid, and his morning routine was making his fear more likely to become reality with every passing day. But here is the good news. The body has an incredible ability to rebuild. In just 21 days, William started seeing changes that stunned him. His golf buddies noticed he was walking faster. His wife noticed he was carrying groceries without complaining. And it all came down to one simple change. Before I tell you exactly what that change is, I need you to understand why this works. Your muscles are not just lumps of tissue. They are living, breathing factories that rebuild themselves constantly. Every single day, your body tears down old muscle fibers and builds new ones. It is like a construction crew that works around the clock, demolishing old buildings and putting up new ones. When you are young, the construction crew is fast and well supplied. They get all the materials they need, and they build faster than they demolish. But after 60, the crew slows down. They need more materials to do the same work. And if those materials do not arrive first thing in the morning, they simply stop building and start only demolishing. The material your muscles need most is something called, well, I will not use the scientific term. Let me explain it this way. Imagine your muscles are made of millions of tiny bricks. These bricks wear out constantly and need replacing. The only way to replace them is to deliver new bricks through your bloodstream, and those bricks come directly from your breakfast. Here is something else, Dr. Yoshida discovered that surprised even experienced physicians like myself. The timing of when you deliver those bricks matters almost as much as the bricks themselves. Your muscles have what researchers call a window of receptivity in the morning. During this window, which lasts about 60 minutes after you wake up, your muscles are primed to receive and use building materials. Miss that window, and your muscles become much less efficient at using what you give them. Think of it like a delivery truck arriving at a construction site. If the workers are ready and waiting with their tools in hand, they can unload the materials and start building immediately. But if the truck arrives after the workers have gone home for the day, those materials just sit there unused. Your muscles work the same way. They are ready and waiting in that first hour. Feed them then, and they build. Wait too long, and the opportunity passes. Helen, 71, a retired nurse from San Diego, understood this concept immediately because of her medical background, but even she had fallen into the trap. She told me I know better. I spent 40 years telling patients to eat properly, but when I retired, I got lazy with my own advice. I figured I was not working anymore, so I did not need to eat as much. Helen's muscle loss happened so gradually, she did not notice until she could not open a jar of pickles. A jar of pickles. This woman used to lift patients out of hospital beds. Now a pickle jar defeated her. The body sends no warning signals as muscles waste away. It is not like a broken bone that screams in pain. It is more like a tire slowly losing air. You do not notice it happening. You just wake up one day and realize you are flat. I had another patient, Beatrice, 69, a retired school teacher from Atlanta, who described this feeling perfectly. She said, "Dr. Harrison, it is like I went to bed one person and woke up someone else, but it did not happen overnight. It happened over thousands of nights while I was not paying attention. The woman who used to rearrange her classroom furniture by herself now needs her neighbor to help carry in her groceries." Beatrice wept when she told me this, not dramatic tears but the quiet kind that come from deep disappointment in yourself. She said she felt like she had let her body down, like she had broken some unspoken promise to take care of the only vessel she would ever have. What I told Beatrice is what I told Helen and Edward and all the others. I said, "You did not know, how could you? No one explained this to you. The information was buried in medical journals that regular people never read. Your morning routine was not a failure of character, it was a failure of communication between medicine and the people who need it most." And then I told them the solution. What I told Helen is what I am telling you now. The solution is remarkably simple. It does not require expensive supplements. It does not require joining a gym. It does not require complicated meal plans. It requires understanding one thing and doing it every single morning without fail. Your muscles need fuel within 60 minutes of waking up. Not just any fuel, the specific type of fuel that tells your body to stop breaking down muscle and start building it instead. And that fuel must arrive at the right time in the right amount. Think of your morning meal as a command signal to your muscles. When you eat properly in the morning, you are sending a message that says stop the demolition and start the construction. When you skip breakfast or eat too little, the message is stop building and keep demolishing. Dr. Yoshida measured this effect precisely. He found that elderly patients who ate a proper morning meal within 1 hour of waking lost 60% less muscle over a year compared to those who skipped breakfast or had only coffee and toast. That is the difference between walking independently at 80 and needing a wheelchair. Now let me tell you exactly what a proper morning meal looks like for someone over 60, and I promise you it is not complicated, it is not expensive, it is not time-consuming. You need eggs. That is it. That is the simple change. But let me explain why eggs specifically, and how to eat them for maximum muscle protection. Eggs are like miracle packages for aging muscles. Inside each egg is everything your muscles need to stop breaking down and start rebuilding. The building blocks, the construction materials, the energy, the workers' tools, it is all there in one simple, inexpensive, widely available food. Your muscles after 60 are like a house that needs constant repairs. Eggs provide the lumber, the nails, the concrete, and the workers all in one package. No other single food comes close to delivering this combination. Now I want to pause here and remind you of something important. I am not suggesting you change any medications or ignore advice from your own physician. What I am sharing today is meant to inform a conversation with your doctor, not replace it. Every person is different, and your healthcare provider knows your specific situation. Dorothy, the librarian I told you about at the beginning, started eating 3 eggs every morning within 30 minutes of waking up. She was skeptical at first. She said, "Dr. Harrison, I have been eating cereal for 40 years. You want me to change everything because of eggs?" Yes, exactly that. Within 2 weeks, Dorothy noticed something strange. Her legs did not feel as heavy in the afternoon. She thought it was a coincidence. By week 3, she caught herself taking the stairs at the library without thinking about it. She had been avoiding those stairs for 2 years. She called me with excitement in her voice. "Doctor, I carried my grandson up the porch steps yesterday. I have not been able to do that in 3 years. What is happening?" What was happening was simple. Her muscles were finally getting the fuel they desperately needed at the exact time they needed it most. The morning egg habit was sending the build command instead of the demolish command. Her body was listening. Robert, the factory supervisor who kept falling, added eggs to his breakfast within a week of our conversation. His wife Margaret scrambled them with some vegetables every morning. She told me she was happy to have a purpose first thing in the morning. She called it her muscle protection ritual. By day 14, Robert had not fallen once. His balance improved because his leg muscles were finally strong enough to catch him when he stumbled. The muscles that had been wasting away were rebuilding themselves one morning at a time. Think about what eggs do inside your body like this. Imagine your muscles are a garden that has gone unwatered for years. The plants are wilting. The soil is dry. The whole thing looks ready to give up. Now imagine you start watering that garden every single morning at sunrise with exactly the right amount of water. At first, nothing visible happens. The plants are still wilted, but underneath the surface, roots are drinking, cells are plumping up, life is returning. Within a week or two, you start seeing green shoots. The leaves unfold. The flowers begin to bloom. The garden transforms. That is exactly what happens to your muscles when you start fueling them properly every morning. Patricia, the church secretary who was shuffling, resisted the idea at first. She told me, "Doctor, I have never been a breakfast person. The thought of eating first thing makes me feel sick." I explained to her that her body felt that way precisely because it had adapted to starvation mode. It was used to breaking down muscle every morning instead of building it. The sick feeling was actually her body crying out for fuel but not knowing how to ask for it properly anymore. I told Patricia to start small, just 1 egg on day 1, then 2 eggs by the end of week 1, then 3 eggs by week 3. Her stomach would adjust, her appetite would return, and most importantly, her muscles would stop wasting away. It worked. By week 4, Patricia was eating 3 eggs every morning and actually enjoying them. She said, "I feel like a different person. I wake up now looking forward to breakfast." And my grandson told me I am not shuffling anymore. Edward, the accountant who was afraid of living alone, became one of my most dedicated egg advocates. He approached the morning egg habit the same way he approached his finances, with precision and commitment. He bought an egg timer. He set an alarm for exactly 45 minutes after his wake-up time, and every single morning, without exception, he ate his 3 eggs before that timer went off. 3 months later, Edward called me with news that made my day. He said, "Dr. Harrison, I rearranged my entire living room yesterday, moved the couch, the bookshelf, everything. By where myself. And you know what? I did not even think about whether I could do it. I just did it, like the old me." Helen, the retired nurse, became an evangelist for the morning egg habit. She started calling her old nursing friends and telling them about it. She told me, laughing, "I have recruited more people to eat eggs than I ever recruited to take their medications. And these eggs actually work." Beatrice, the schoolteacher who wept in my office, sent me a photograph 6 months later. She was standing in her classroom at a reunion, surrounded by former students. She was holding a banner above her head, with both arms extended, a position that would have been impossible for her 6 months earlier. She wrote on the back of the photo, "My arms work again, my legs work again, I work again. Thank you for the eggs." Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about cholesterol? What about heart disease? What about all those warnings we heard for decades about eggs being bad for you? Here is the truth that doctors now understand. For most people over 60, the cholesterol in eggs does not raise blood. Cholesterol in dangerous ways. Your body adjusts its own production when you eat cholesterol from food. It is like a thermostat that turns down the heater when the room gets warm enough. The old warnings were based on incomplete science that has since been corrected. Research from institutions like Harvard has shown that for most adults, eating eggs daily does not increase the risk of heart disease. In fact, eggs contain nutrients that support heart health, brain function, and eye health. They are one of the most complete foods nature ever created. William, the golfer who did intermittent fasting, broke his fasting rule for eggs. He told me, "If I have to choose between a trendy diet and being able to golf with my friends, I choose golf every time." Smart man. His golf buddies started calling him the Egg Man because he would bring hard-boiled eggs to the course and eat them before their rounds. 3 of those buddies started doing the same thing after they saw how much stronger William was getting. One of them, a man named Carl, who was 71, told William that his wife had noticed the difference. She said he was walking taller, standing straighter, looking younger somehow. Now let me give you the exact protocol that works best for people over 60. This is what Dr. Yoshida recommends based on his 30 years of research. This is what I have seen work with hundreds of my own patients. This is what changed the lives of Dorothy, Robert, Patricia, William, Helen, Edward, and Beatrice. Wake up and eat 3 eggs within 60 minutes, not 90 minutes, not 2 hours, within 60 minutes. The timing matters because your muscles are most receptive to building materials in that first hour after waking. Miss that window and you lose the opportunity for the entire day. How you prepare the eggs matters less than eating them. Scrambled, fried, boiled, poached. Your muscles do not care about cooking method. They care about receiving the building blocks they need. If 3 eggs seem like too much at first, start with 2, but work your way up to 3 within the first week. Research shows that 3 eggs provide the threshold amount of building materials needed to fully switch your muscles from breakdown mode to building mode. Some people add vegetables to their eggs. That is wonderful. Some people add cheese. That is fine too. Some people eat their eggs plain with just a little salt. Perfect. The only wrong way to eat your morning eggs is to not eat them at all. Margaret, Robert's wife, developed what she called her power scramble. She mixed 3 eggs with spinach, tomatoes, and a sprinkle of cheese. She said it took her 7 minutes from refrigerator to plate, 7 minutes to protect her husband's muscles for the entire day. The cost of this habit is minimal. A dozen eggs cost just a few dollars and last 4 days. Compare that to the cost of physical therapy, assisted living, or hospital stays from falls. The morning egg habit is the most affordable health insurance you will ever buy. Now let me tell you what happened to Dorothy 6 months after she started her morning egg routine. Her husband George called me, and I could hear the emotion in his voice. He said, "Dr. Harrison, we went to the zoo with our grandchildren yesterday. Dorothy walked for 3 hours. 3 hours. She carried our youngest granddaughter on her shoulders for the last 100 yards because the little one was tired. I have not seen Dorothy this strong in 10 years. That phone call is why I became a doctor. That moment of seeing someone reclaim their life. That transformation from barely getting out of a chair to carrying a grandchild on your shoulders. But what touched me most was what Dorothy said when I saw her at her next appointment. She looked me in the eyes and said, 'Doctor, you gave me my independence back. I was so afraid of becoming a burden to my family. Now I know I have years of good living ahead of me, all because of eggs. Simple eggs.' Robert stopped falling. Patricia stopped shuffling. William returned to golf. Helen became an advocate. Edward rearranged his furniture. Beatrice held up that banner, and they all started with the same simple change. Every single morning, within 60 minutes of waking, 3 eggs. Your muscles are waiting for this signal. They have been breaking down for years, waiting for you to give them the command to rebuild. Every morning you skip is another day of loss. Every morning you fuel properly is another day of gain. And remember, this information is meant to educate and empower you, not to replace the advice of your personal physician. Take what you have learned today and have a conversation with your doctor about what is right for you. The research is clear. The stories are real. The solution is simple. Now here is what I want you to do. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, I want you to think about Dorothy carrying her granddaughter. I want you to think about Robert not falling anymore. I want you to think about Edward moving his furniture by himself. I want you to think about what your life could look like in just 21 days if you make this one simple change. Your muscles are not gone. They are just waiting for permission to rebuild. The morning egg habit gives them that permission, and 21 days from now, you will feel the difference. You will climb stairs more easily. You will get up from chairs without pushing yourself. You will carry groceries without struggling. You will feel like you did years ago. If you found this information helpful, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to this channel. I release new videos every week to help you maintain your independence as you get older. If you know someone over 60 who is struggling with weakness, who is afraid of falls, who is watching their independence slip away, please share this video with them. Sometimes all someone needs is for a friend to say, "Hey, I heard something that might help you." Because Dorothy almost gave up. Robert almost accepted that falling was his new normal. Patricia almost resigned herself to shuffling for the rest of her life. Edward almost surrendered to the fear of living alone. They were all one simple piece of information away from transforming their lives, and you might be that one friend who delivers that information to someone who needs it. The morning egg habit. 3 eggs, within 60 minutes of waking, every single day. Your muscles will thank you. Your family will thank you. And 21 days from now you will thank yourself for making this simple change. I have seen it happen hundreds of times. I know it will happen for you too. Take care of yourself.